Hey, that book I found, I think it's the perfect book for this time of year. It's called A Christmas Carol. I bet it's full of songs and happy stuff.
Well,
No.
it is a Christmas story, but no songs, just some references to them, and some ghosts, and... Okay, so this story by Charles Dickens was originally published in 1843. We begin with Stave 1, Marley's Ghost.
We begin with me exiting stage left.
Next, I want you to imagine all of the characters as animals.
Animals? Oh, like the Muppets Christmas Carol?
How do you... Never mind. The author begins with hammering two facts into our heads. Jacob Marley is dead, and Ebenezer Scrooge is a penny-pinching jerk.
His name is Ebenezer?
Not again. Nix, you can't just go around making fun of people's names. Marley is dead, and Scrooge refuses to have Christmas dinner with his nephew, give to charity, pay his employee a decent wage, or listen to street urchins sing Christmas carols.
Aha! So there are songs in this book.
I think you're missing the point.
Huh? No. Marley's dead. Scrooge is mean. I got it.
Christmas Eve is a very long day for Scrooge. Fred, his nephew, takes all of his grouchiness in stride and is a pleasant fellow to all. He practically glows with Christmas spirit, which is good on a foggy London day like this. When it's finally time for Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's employee, to head home, he dares to ask for Christmas Day off first. Scrooge scoffs. Christmas is but a poor excuse to pick a man's pocket every year, but allows it, provided Bob is there all the earlier the next day. Bob heads home to see his family in good cheer. After all, tomorrow is Christmas. But Scrooge, he walks home in a foul mood. The fog is so thick he has to feel along the walls of houses to navigate. His home is an old-fashioned building that used to be some mansion-type home, but has now been rented out as office spaces.
So, really, he's alone in a giant building.
Yep. And as he approaches this giant building, the door knocker suddenly transforms into the face of his old partner, Jacob Marley.
Hey, Rivan? Jacob Marley is dead. We really have to understand that.
Yes, we do. But now the door knocker looks like him. Or it did until Scrooge goes to take a closer look at it. He's back to normal. Inside the building is dark and creepy. The hallway to his quarters is large enough for a horse-drawn cart to travel without touching the walls. In his room, Scrooge gets himself some lovely gruel. He's huddled close to a fire that does very little to heat his room. A bell begins to ring.
Oh no, not a bell! Whatever shall we do?
Oh, it's joined by many others, the kind that have to be pulled by people in other rooms in the house.
You said he's alone, right?
Oh, not anymore, for through the locked door comes the ghost of Jacob Marley. He looks just as he did at the funeral, except for the heavy chains that are wrapped around him, binding him to many lockboxes. Scrooge is appropriately freaked out, but he tries masking his fear with puns.
Puns?
There's more gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are.
Jeez, this guy needs some practice.
It's been a while. Marley has dismal news for Scrooge. The chains he bears are punishment for the actions he took or didn't take while alive. Scrooge is heading for the same fate, but with 7 years more chains so far. But he still has a chance. For the next 3 nights, he will be visited by spirits and must learn the lessons they teach. As Marley is about to leave, Scrooge is given the chance to see other ghosts and their punishments for not helping mankind. Appropriately terrified now, Scrooge goes to bed.
And hides under the blankets like a normal person.
Not far off. He's cranky and scared. Never a good combination. Stave 2 begins with the bell on the clock tower ringing. It's now midnight, which confuses Scrooge.
Time confuses him?
Well, it was 2 a.m. when he went to bed. For a moment, he thinks it's noon and that he slept in. Fear keeps him up until the clock strikes 1, and then something else keeps him up. A light appears under the bed curtains.
Bed curtains? Huh. Weird.
The curtains are pulled back, and Scrooge finds himself face to face with the first spirit, the ghost of Christmas past. A spirit that manages to look young and old at the same time. The spirit tells Scrooge to follow him and takes him to the past. They arrive at a school with all the boys heading home for the holidays. All except one.
Let me guess. Scrooge. Are we supposed to feel sorry for him?
Feel sorry for him if you want. Scrooge remembers how he spent many holidays there, alone, reading stories about adventures. But this time it doesn't last. The spirit takes him to another Christmas, where a girl comes to get Scrooge. He's finally been allowed to come home.
Who's the girl?
Scrooge's sister. We don't see her again, but her fate can be guessed. All that's left of her in the present is her son, Fred. Scrooge is brought to another Christmas. He gets to see a party hosted by Fezziwig, his first employer. Seeing the excitement and happiness, Scrooge starts feeling guilty about how he treats Bob.
Good, as he should.
He is also shown meeting Belle, the girl he loved.
Wait. He loved someone? He's capable of that?
For a time. In another Christmas, Belle breaks their engagement as she sees that Scrooge loves money more than her.
On Christmas? Harsh.
Belle ends up marrying someone else and having many kids. The spirit shows Scrooge that she is very happy in the end. And after that, the spirit leaves him back in his room, and we end Stave 2.
Chapter titles aren't very creative.
The clock strikes 1.
Again?
Again. This time, Scrooge goes out to meet the second spirit. He's a large man surrounded by a bounty of food. He is the ghost of Christmas present. He takes Scrooge to many different places. He sees Bob Cratchit's family and how excited the family of 8 was for their meager goose and having a chance to celebrate together. Scrooge is drawn into the merriment and wonders about one of the young boys, a frail boy with a crutch, Tiny Tim.
First, he loves someone. Then he has emotions. Sure is a big night for Scrooge.
Scrooge asks the spirit what will happen to Tim. "I see a vacant seat," replied the ghost, "in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die." Yeah, Scrooge doesn't like that answer either, but he's whisked away. The spirit takes him many places to see people shoveling snow off of roofs and having snowball fights, sailors in a storm, here, there, and everywhere to see how Christmas changes people. They even go to Fred's dinner party. All the people there are having so much fun, even Scrooge joins in, invisible though he is.
I can't wait to hear how this ends badly.
Oh, I would hate to disappoint you. They end up playing a game of yes or no. Think 20 questions. The guests guess all sorts of things, with Fred hinting that the thing he's thinking of is a miserable, grouchy thing. It's finally guessed to be Ebenezer Scrooge himself.
Oof.
It feels like a punch in the stomach, but Scrooge also recognizes that he has been that disagreeable person. He begins to see how he must change. And as the spirit leaves, we come to Stave 4. Scrooge is presented with the cloaked, skeletal ghost of Christmas future. The spirit says nothing, but leads Scrooge silently through scenes of the future. The Cratchit home, learning how to cope with the loss of Tiny Tim. Some businessmen Scrooge knows discussing a funeral no one was going to. the back alley sale of things stolen from the dead man's home. And finally, as Scrooge was breaking, terrified of both the future and the possibility he couldn't change it, the spirit showed him his very own tombstone.
This should have been a Halloween story.
Scrooge panicked, but soon found himself back in his own bed, safe and sound, and we finally reach stave 5.
Yeah, that's pretty much on point.
Scrooge, afraid he had missed Christmas, burst to the window. A random boy told him it was Christmas Day, and Scrooge had him send a goose to the Cratchits' house. Scrooge went to Fred's party, much to Fred's surprise. But they all had fun, and Scrooge began turning over his new leaf. He even gave to charity. The next day, Bob Cratchit was a few minutes late, and Scrooge was ready. He began berating the man, fully prepared to...
What? Was he gonna fire him? For a few minutes.
That's what Bob thought. And then Scrooge raised his salary. And from that time on, Ebenezer Scrooge was a kind and generous man.
And Tiny Tim?
Was just fine. In fact, he's here to join our collection of dolls. Oh, and I have something for you.
Animal, vegetable, or mineral?
I used to grow on an animal.
Is it a decoration?
No.
Something to wear?
Nix, do you want to play all 20 questions, or do you want your present?
Well...
Merry Christmas.
Socks! You remembered!
I remembered, and you'll remember to find a new book?
You bet!
See you next time.